Chapter 13. I got another letter. The handwriting was different than normal. These letters were curly, closely put together. A scent emanated from the ink. When I put the paper to my nose, a fresh, grassy perfume made my head swirl. It made me feel like I was grasping for a memory. It smelled like walking into mist on a warm morning. When my head stopped turning, I opened my eyes, and after a quick glance at the painting, I focused on the letter. Land of sea, flat and deep, made by them who suffered water's love, where proudly your sails while you live on trees, salt the wavy grass, while you guard your keep, hold your freedom as the clouds up above, let the woman wail. What does that mean? I thought. These words did not mean anything to me, yet they gave me a feeling of nostalgia. I suddenly remembered a part of my past, a map, which in my mind looked weird, a long coastline on the west, many rivers cutting through the land, and a voice that was mine. Can you believe we just made an entire province out of nothing? My head spun again, and I buried my face in my hands. The letter flew out of my grasp, taken by the sudden wind. The picture of the map was still buried into my mind. It was so familiar. It was my country. I want to go home. The rich man in the painting had carried a neutral expression for a long time, but had recently shifted to a more uncomfortable expression. His hand was slowly reaching for his knife. I had declared the latest action, waiting for something to happen. Something was approaching the edge of the painting. I could feel it. A door slammed. The sound startled me. I looked around, but the candle did not show any movement or new shadows. The doorway behind me was clear. Must be the red-robed people, or those Arteminian, I thought. I quickly looked back at the painting. He held out his knife, clearly scared now. The white of his eyes shone brightly as a focus point. He had taken a step back, letting the red curtain fall down. Nothing but a bare wall was behind him. The silver knife in his hand gleamed like a mirror, and in the reflection, I could see a face. The blue lady was back. The blood on the knife was the brightest red I had ever seen. Her blue dress looked more stark next to it, except where the fabric was stained. Her blue hair was still untouched. Some of the locks curled around her head like sheep horns. Her dark blue eyes looked at me and locked me in my place. Even her skin had a hint of blue. She smiled at me. The knife in her hand was turning black. The scene was terrifying, but she looked so familiar. When I opened my eyes, Zavancha was looking over at me. He who is clearing the path will watch over all, I heard whispering. Everywhere I looked, I saw blue. The golden shackles clanged together when Zavancha bowed over me. I felt really weak, like all energy had left me. I was being prodded again, and the constant touching of those women were getting on my nerves. By the blue sky, we are close. I feel it, another one said. I had not processed what had happened, and I was touched like a piece of meat. My head hurt. The shortest of the three was rubbing my calves. The pens and needles this created took over all my other senses. I wanted to slap them. I tried to lift my hand, but it was too much, and my arm fell back into the soft cushions with a heavy plop. We need to prepare for the following, Zavancha told the others. His steps are close, and I dreamt of him. You always dream of him, the other snibbed. You are not as blessed as you think. I am not as blessed as others, Zavancha answered, but I do dream of him, and he is visiting me in my dreams. He just doesn't want to guide me to him. My head hurts, I interrupted. 3 pairs of hands stopped for a moment. When did she wake? The one at the end of the bed whispered. Which way do we need to travel? Zavancha asked me. I looked at her, suddenly having a clear head. "Get off of me!" I yelled. A shock went through the women. They stopped touching me. Zavantia got closer to me. "By the yellow sun, my priestess, are you okay?" "I will if you let me be for a moment." The other two looked at each other. Zavantia tried to smile. "We need to do the checkups first. Your task is difficult enough as it is. And that is exactly why I need a moment." "Do you need food, my priestess?" the tallest one asked. I never liked her. In the short moments that I saw them, she was rubbing the most and being heard the most. Her chin was pointy, her skin milk white. Her blue veil was torn at some point. When she spoke, her questions sounded more like demands. This time as well, because I had not answered the question, but food was brought in immediately. Zavantia began to rub my hands, but I waved her away. The yellow garb I was wearing shone like gold in the fleeting light when a flap of the tent was opened. There she was, the blue lady, only she was wearing green. Her hair and her eyes were the same I saw in the paintings, and her skin was a bluish white, even in the warm light. "What did the shadow look like?" the tallest woman asked suddenly. I had to tear away my gaze to focus on what was said. "The shadow? You told us the shadow was there. Did I?" I felt like I was losing any grasp on the situation. The blue lady was standing there like nothing happened, holding a tray of food in her hands. I kept looking at her. Was she really the same person? Before I could address her, Zavantia had taken the tray and waved her off. The tray was put next to me while the questioning continued. "Which way is he sending us? What form do we need to look for? I dreamt he was leaving his footsteps on muddy banks of a river. Does that mean we need to go east?" My head was spinning from the barrage of questions alone. I lifted my arm. I had not looked into a mirror in ages, but my arm looked a lot bigger than I remembered. But that could not be. My arm was not this flabby when I was in the building moments ago. I looked a bit better at my legs, which were covered in gold-colored cloth. I could not call it a pair of pants or even a skirt, just a flabby piece of cloth that was covering my legs. I tried to grab the light fabric with my way too fat fingers. There was something in the way. A warm, flabby piece that laid on my stomach. Zavantia tried to get my attention back to the questions. "My priestess," she said while lifting up my chin, or double chin. Her finger delved deep into my flesh, and it felt awful. "We understand you woke up suddenly, but we need answers while the memories are fresh." She held my face on her. I looked at her. The veil made it unable to see her eyes, and I could not gauge her emotion. "East to the bridge," I lied. "We need to haste, so go." I felt my face fall when her hand did not support my chin. Zavantia clapped once. "So it will be. So it is," I said weakly. With a squeal, the one with the thick lips and wide hips ran out of the tent. Her blue linen dress hindered her, and her golden shackles rang like little bells. Zavantia followed her with a bit more grace. The tall one took a few steps, turned to me with her thin lips in a bitter expression, and huffed. "I dreamt we had to go north. Anji was never right before." "I saw we had to go east, not Aji," I snarked back. "Now hurry." I waved her away and let me be. I tried to remain calm, but I was almost certain she could hear my heart beating in my chest. I was sweating like an ox, feeling more and more dizzy. My fingers felt wrong. My legs felt wrong. My whole body felt like it was stuck to the bed I was lying in. Once the flap of the tent was back to its original position, I turned around and threw the tray on the floor. The metal sounded dull when it landed on the wooden floor. The food and glass were strewn around. My eyelids were so heavy, but I did not want to sleep. Before the darkness took me, I heard a hiss. I had not eaten for days. I also had not drank a lot. The longer I stayed lucid, the better my brain started to work, but it was a struggle to keep those three away from me. The longer I was awake, the more authority seemed to wane for them. It took a lot of strength for them to keep from pushing food into my mouth or tipping the rest of the juice down my throat. Every time they left the food and drinks at my side, I would throw it on the ground, and the white snake would come and eat it, glass and all. My memories came back slowly. I still had a lot of gaps, but more and more became clear to me. I at least remember how I got into this situation in the first place. I was trapped. I'd fallen into a pit while I was traveling to a village. My ankle hurt from the fall, and I had screamed my throat raw. I had suffered hunger before I fell, and I was too weak to climb out. It took until the next day for anyone to show up. They pulled me out of the pit and brought me to a camp, feeding me with salty bread and water. The tents were brightly colored. Most of them were green and red, but some were white, and in the middle was bright blue. I noticed that the bigger tents had wheels, as if this camp was ready to pack up and leave the moment needed for it. There was a big gap in my memory here, but I knew that a man in white clothes and a silver headband took one look at me and smiled. "Do we have a new follower here?" he asked, not taking his eyes off of me. "She was stuck in a hole," one of my rescuers answered. "She was playing with her 4 rope necklaces that looked rough and uncomfortable on her green shirt." "Maybe let her tell her tale herself," the man hissed at the woman. The others took a step back. He sighed and straightened himself. "We can only help the ones who are willing to follow the way. Do you know the way?" "I was traveling," I answered, more like a joke than being serious. However, the man nodded like it was the right answer. "Good to hear. Have you followed the footprints?" I was confused. I had seen some big prints in the mud. If it was Earth, people would think of Bigfoot. "I saw a print in the mud. It was to the east." The man raised an eyebrow. He looked at the people who had taken me out of the pit. "Is this true?" We stopped looking when we found her." The group was given an earful and sent back. I was brought to a big red tent with small rickety beds. The treatment of the swollen ankle was no better than what I would think medieval medicine would be. Another person in white came into the tent. This man, adjusting his silver headband with the big eye symbol in the middle, rushed to me, pushing other people away. "How did you find the footstep?" he demanded. "I found it along the way." "Yes, but how?" "What do you mean how? I found it. No one just finds a footstep. You must have the gift." My next memory began with a loud noise that rang through the camp, and the face of my interrogator dropped. He turned and ran out of the tent. The priestess had died. I did not know anything at that point, but I saw the enlarged body shown around to ensure she had left the world. 3 women in blue were standing around the recently deceased. The tallest of the veiled 3 opened her mouth. "Dear followers of the path, we regret to announce the priestess is elevated to paradise. Clued had found her before we could find him and took her with him. We will now decide who will become the next priestess." All 3 women clapped 3 times, and the crowd dispersed. The body of the priestess was carried away by 10 people in red robes, the women in blue trailing behind. Normally, as I was told repeatedly during the lessons, the next priestess would be chosen out of the 3 blue-veiled women. Those 3 were chosen from many followers because they had prophetic dreams and the most knowledge about paradise. However, they had heard many stories. I had told the others where I came from. The sky is blue and the sun is yellow. They also noticed how much I hated the salty food and could eat the fruit without alterations. The 3 women had called upon me, and I walked into the blue tent. They started to ask me questions. "What is the color of the sky?" they asked. "Blue." "What color is the grass?" "Green." The tall one, called Hendrika, had pursed her lips. "Can they fly?" she asked. The other 2 turned their veiled faces to her, but Hendrika smiled. "They have flying machines," I answered, "unless you mean like birds." A gasp went through the tent. My memory faded from that moment, but I knew that there was a reason I was chosen as the new priestess. "And the mist?" I got here through the mist. There are no clouds here. In the land of green sky and blue grass, where the earth is made of salt and the water is saltier than the Red Sea, yet the people thrive here. I still do not know exactly where I am from, but I know I am not from this world. Chapter 15. I was back into the building. The candle was burning as always, painting the dark stones into a soft yellow light. Grabbing the candle, I made my way to the room with the painting. Strange memories were fighting for dominance, and it made me nauseous. I focused on one thing: get back to the painting. I opened the door to the room and looked around. Blue paper was strewn around the floor. Previous letters I had received from Zavancha, they were not important anymore. I sat in the chair and looked up. There she was. The blue lady smiled her warm smile, and I recognized her now. She was the same woman as the woman who wore green and brought the food. She was the only object in the painting. There was no other detail in the frame, just a dark brown background. The silver frame almost seemed to glow. The painting of the blue lady was so detailed, I could count her eyelashes. She did not move. The wind started up. I wonder if you can hear me now, I heard. The painting was not speaking, it was the wind. Or maybe it is too late again. The wind howled around me. Not a strand of my hair was lifted, but the wind yelled in my ears. I can hear you, I whispered, but maybe they can too. You are the priestess, and only you are fed the juice, the wind said. Only you can enter here, but they can hear you since they are always listening. The wind lay down as if it was thinking. You have rotted away to no fault of your own. You are bloated with lies. A stranger of this world, you have survived very long, but you need to go back. You need to return to the unsalted earth. A song started playing. It was slow and mournful. I felt a yearning for my home. A voice sang. In mountains high, we watch the sky, and the cold envelopes me. But deep inside, the fire's bright. I feel here I'm meant to be. The path is long, but we stay strong, and this night when I'm with you, in the light of stars, your face is lit up. It's beyond compare, as time seems to stop. When you look at me with stars in your eyes, you're blinding me. You're blinding me. We're on our way, and now the day is wearing us down. When we stop here near the top, the stars will be your crown. The path goes on, and we stay strong in this night when I'm with you. In the light of the stars, your face is lit up. It's beyond compare, as time seems to stop. When you look at me with stars in your eyes, you're blinding me. You're blinding me. If on the bend our path will end, I'll cry the river deep. But through that time, the hours climb as the wind sings you to sleep. The path is long, and we stay strong in this night when I'm with you. In the light of the stars, your face is lit up. It's beyond compare, as time seems to stop. When you look at me with stars in your eyes, you're blinding me. You're blinding me. The song stopped suddenly. For now, I want you to listen, the wind said. I wished I could walk through the painting to the other side, but the brown painting was too small. I lost count how many candles I used up only listening. Do those candles even tell the real time? The last candle was already halfway used up when I got a letter. I ignored it. I felt another letter bounce against my leg. I saw a flash of big letters, ink splats on the edge. I ignored it again. I was sick of being used. I had stopped eating and drinking. The juice was not only in the drink, but in everything. Every now and then, I felt a pressure against my lips. a faint feeling and a small hint that this room was not made by hands, but by mist and cobwebs in my mind, but not entirely. It was still confusing to me. I tried to keep my lips together when I felt that touch. Maybe the drugs would wear off this way. Another letter flashed by. How did they get those in my mind anyway? The words flew by and I could almost hear them. Get away from the painting. I already had the frame in my hands. The painting felt heavy and the silver shone coldly in the light of the candle. I caressed the canvas with one finger. Only the edge. Putting my finger on her face would be weird. The blue lady smiled her welcoming smile. I knew those eyes. I could not hear her, but I knew she wanted me to follow her. The brown background became lighter. Mist filled the bottom of the painting. It almost flowed out. Just touch it, Alvina whispered in my ear. A small breeze rustled my hair. Her breath tickled my neck. Touch the mist and return. I hesitated for a moment. Can it be that easy? I wondered. My fingers were so close to the cloudy fingers of the mist, but I felt my legs collapsing under me, and the room went dark. Chapter 16. The blue fabric stung my eyes. The three veiled women had pulled me out. I was wet, shaking, and cold. Zavancha was shaking almost as much as me, hovering over me with pale lips. It was quiet. There were no questions this time, only a heavy silence. Hendrika stepped forward. Her hand was trembling. Why did you go against our orders? Your orders? I tried to get up, but my arms would not carry my weight. How long did they keep me sleeping? Your orders? I repeated when I got no answer. You dare to give me orders? I felt fear creep up on me. If I failed to convince them this time, I would lose it all. Nonetheless, I tried to keep my composure. They looked at each other through their veils. No answer again. I tried to hoist myself up again. The fatty bulk made it a lot more difficult. Help me get up. I snapped my fingers. In their confusion, they started to obey. Two of them hoisted me up by my arms. I was sweating already. My priestess, Hendrika began. By the yellow sun, you do as I say, or he will make you pay. My cheeks hung so low. With every word, I felt them wobble. My teeth felt loose and greasy. As I was trying to keep my superiority, I began to sweat even more. When I was sitting upright, the women held me loose. Now go and fetch me the woman with the blue hair, I demanded. Any smile they had, they faded away. My priestess, if you are hungry, Zavancha began, but I cut her off. As the sky turns blue, you will do as I say. Visibly furious, they stood there for a moment. My head was so heavy, my fingers felt numb. I could not see their eyes, and their mouths were nothing more than thin strips in their hidden faces. Then they bowed and left. For years, my mind was clouded, but now the drugs had worn off. Alvina's words became clear. She whispered the all-forgotten memories which slowly formed back into shape. Not all memories came back. My mind was already too decayed to get them back. But I found important memories from before I was caught in my own body. So much came back to me, and I could barely handle the situation as it was. The gaps in my memories needed to be filled in, but I could never get it all back. I closed my eyes and screamed. I was shouting through the dark night. I was following my dog Tidger, who had run away. The little dog was one of my best friends, and I was afraid he would fall into one of the ditches my village was surrounded with, and there was a thick mist that made it difficult to see. I could hear his soft bark through the white air. Tidger! More soft barking from farther up ahead. I followed the sound and suddenly felt tired, but I could not give up. My dog was close, yapping away at something I could not see. I tripped and fell, but not into a ditch. I fell and landed on the salty soil of this world. I met a woman with blue hair. She tried to help me and get back to my world. She gave me fruit, which other people considered poisonous, but I could eat, and she supported me until I fell into the trap. I was caught by the Yellow Sun Sisterhood. There they realized I had seen Earth, their paradise, but they confused it with the sight, and they thought I was an easy puppet to put on the golden throne. When they found out I did not like to be ordered around, they started to drug me, and now Zavancha lied to me, feeding me the juice and lies and dreams. My body felt like it was rotting away. I was in no state to defend myself. I kept losing control of the situation. They kept drugging me, putting me back into the dark building without clear memories, waking me back up, and kept asking question after question. I could only sit, bark commands when I was clear-minded, and go into hunger strike. I tried to pretend I did not know what was going on. I tried to pretend I was still on their side, trying to be confused one moment and giving vague answers the next. If I was too clear, back into the drug castle they forced me, and there I listened to Alvina and looked at the blue lady in the paintings. The blue lady found me more and faster ways to get into the paintings. Alvina called the building the Holding of Dreams. It was not a dream per se, nor another realm next to the salty world. It was a way to travel to a place that had more connections to the other beings. This salty world, at least as much as I have knowledge about it, sounded a lot like a world with a lot of mythical creatures I heard stories of as a child. The giant beetles that seemed to gather on the walls made noises. The giant snake, white as snow, with golden crown on its head, came back out of the grass and slithered around the building. And of course, the blue lady was there. How I longed to talk to her in this dreamy building or outside of it. But Zavancha and Hendrika kept me away from any other followers unless I directly gave an order they could not bend. And still, then they were nearby. Too many excuses for them to use and too little energy in the bloated blob of a body of mine. I had seen about a handful of people that were involved in the cult, and I could see how they revered me and the three women. Especially the white-clothed people who called themselves Miss Chasers wanted to talk to me the moment they realized I was awake. We have seen possible clouds forming in the east, one of the men in the group of the Miss Chasers informed me. It is a rare event, but even more rare in that region. We think the dreams might hint at going there to find our Lord Clued. You are absolutely right, I said. Make it be. We need to travel east. The group smiled from ear to ear. Hendrika, who stood next to me, was clenching her hands. Not long after that, the people who wore green came into the tent to pack up all the essentials. The part of the tent where I lay itself had wheels and only needed to be pulled along. Many things that were loose needed to be tied up. We traveled for many days. I realized the camp had traveled many miles since I was put in a gold cloth and made priestess. These people would stay at one place for a few days, get new followers, and move on. Food would be brought in by manual labor and money from the faithful followers. The Miss Chasers would come in regularly and ask me or Hendrika which path to take. It became quickly apparent that Hendrika loved to take the lead, and even though someone would address me, she would say, "The priestess is unwell." She had told us her prophecy. You need to take the path with the pine needles. Always the pine needles. I felt where we were climbing higher and higher up a mountain I did not know. I need to see my people, I said. Bring them to me. He has given me an important message. I was pulled out moments ago, the sweat on my brow heavy enough to close one eye. I hoped that as long as I could stay vague, they would not question me for a while. What I would do if I was out of the tent was still in the dark. They bowed, and two of them hurried out of the tent. Zavancha stayed with me, visibly uncomfortable. "Are you sure you are fit enough, priestess?" she asked. "You could let me relay the message to them." I ignored her question. "How long am I wearing these clothes?" She hesitated. "Too long," I answered for her. "I need fresh clothes, now." I did not know how frightful I looked. but she almost ran. I was now certain the foul stench was emanating from me. I sighed. My eyes stung and would blur over. I blinked a few times to see more clearly. A beam of light shone on her blue hair. "You look terrible," the blue lady said. "Argonauty." I smiled for the first time. We talked, and she told me the plan. The 3 veiled women would find us. We knew they would. My head felt more clearly, although it still hurt. She held out her hand. "If you can stand up and go with me," she began, "I can get you home." I wanted nothing more than that. I had hope. My hand, covered in red spots and looking like a giant against hers, grabbed her hand. If only I had more time. Moving the mass that used to be my body was utterly horrifying. Every moment created a ripple of fat moving back and forth. My feet were not to be found in the golden cloth. They felt far away, and I had trouble controlling them. Could I even stand up? The pens and needles came back and distracted me from my goal. I had put my other hand on the edge of the bed I was put on so long ago. I tried to push myself to my side. The few muscles I had left strained as much as they could. Not much happened. The soft cushions kept me in my place. A prison of soft feathers and silks. I tried to push again, and after a long moment, I got one leg over the edge of the bed. "That is right." The blue lady pulled on my hand. "We need to push a little further." She appeared to be so light, her hand weighed nothing in mine. She could not do much to help me. I had to try again. No matter how hard I was panting and how much my head was hurting, I needed to get out of here. My heart was beating against my chest. My leg that hung over the edge hooked around the edge, and I had more grip to move the body. I felt the weight shifting towards the side. My other leg was able to find the edge, and I hooked that one as well. Everything was slow. I had to stop and get my breath back after every move, but I had finally put my 2 feet on the ground, and then the tent flap opened. Chapter 17. Hendrika bared her teeth. "Stop right there," she yelled. All 3 women rushed to me, grabbing the gold fabric that seemed to hold me together. I almost lost my balance, but I kept my feet on the ground. I only had to get out of the tent to escape this nightmare. Argonauty had a metal rod in her hand and swung wildly. Hendrika, Zavanja, and Aji started screaming, and 4 men in red got into the tent. They carried knives, heavy and rusted. I took a step forward. Argonauty fought with the men, swinging the metal rod while singing a mysterious song. The song filled me with hope, and I felt lighter. I took another step, and another. The blue-veiled lady screamed at me. Svancha pleaded to get back to bed. Anji ran outside to get more backup. Hendrika, though, was enraged. She ripped off her veil, revealing her angry dark eyes. She reached into one of her pockets while she ran up to me. I could see the glimmer of a golden knife before it was shoved into my body. A loud roar shook the earth. Hendrika did not stop, taking the knife and plunging it into the folds of my body. It hurt. I swung my arm in her direction. I could take another step. The utter betrayal of their priestess made Zavanja wake up from her trance. She jumped Hendrika and wrestled to the ground. I took another step. I was almost outside. Another roar sounded through the camp, and the sky turned dark. A giant monster, half wolf, half bull, with shackles around his ankles, he took a step, leaving massive footprints behind. All followers dropped to the ground, holding their heads. The bull had turned. One eye focused on me, and I felt myself fall. Argonauty looked so sad. She sat in the lap of the beast shadow. In the same shadow I had seen multiple times. This was the god the cult was following. I had no emotion seeing this beast. I never believed in the same things that the cult that gelled me believed in. But he was so big. I felt my body shut down more and more. This has been going on for days. I could not walk. I could not get out of the ditch they put me into. Small creatures had tried to help me, babbling about getting more cheese if they finished this last task for me. One of the little ones gave me their clay pipe. Arteminian they were. I finally saw what they looked like. Argonauti had given me the paper and pens, together with the promise to take them to my family, my own world. I looked back at Clude. He was so big. Tears were dripping from her chin while she sat next to me. We all knew I did not have long. My bloated body filled to the big indent in the landscape. No number of days without eating could give me my movement back. Blood-red trees with bright pink needles obscured all else. No one else would come here for weeks. Maybe this place would not be seen for months. Little lights floated around us, moving on their own or dancing in the wind. If I would look closer, I could see a human figure in the flame, but they did not bother with me, because they could not lure me with them. They would feast on my flesh soon. Argonauti stood up and walked towards me. She looked me in the eyes. "Oh, abandoned one," she said. Her voice was softer than a whisper in the wind. She looked pale, almost like she was made of mist. She was one of the white women, the wise women who traveled with the mist to my world. The maids of Clude, they would call themselves in this world. Her eyes were enchanting me still. I tried to move one more time, but I was too broken. They would not hear your plea. Your words they wanted to hear so badly were suddenly like venom to them. And while they are looking for him, you are in his presence. I have little time left. She cannot help me, and he cannot touch me. Not when I am alive. She touches my hand. He will bring you home, she says, even when everyone else failed you. I know I will not see my home again, but there is still some hope. It shines brighter than the brightest star. I keep the memories I still have of where I came from. Flat land, little houses, faces of people who meant so much to me before. I open my mouth and try to lift my head. She is barely visible to me now, but I can see she is shaking. Can you promise me I will get home? It takes a while before she answers. You will be home. She started to sing. There where the pink pines grow among the stones, they whisper their tales to me and show me all they hold. And when the mist will take me to show what you called home, I'll be there to sing until we both are gone. Underneath the pink leaves that cover all the soil, there are creatures living there, making your bones their whole. That's why the bark is deep red, but I stay by your side, and I am here to sing until the mist claims mine. Where the pink pines carry your lovely head, I will kiss the pain away, far from your comfy bed. And when the mist comes hither, surrounded by giant flies, I'll be here to sing until my tears run dry. Here underneath the pink pines, my tears have all run dry, and now I have longed and sang the pines have claimed what's mine. And where the mist will take me, I keep you by my side, 'cause I am here to sing forever your goodbye. Yes, I have truly sung forever my goodbye. I am sitting here and I smile. At least for these last moments, I am not lonely anymore. Some stories don't ask to be remembered. They wait. If you're still here, it's already too late. This has been Diamonds After Dark. See you next time.